working to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Good evening, I'm Alma Angeles and you're watching ASEAN in Focus on tonight's headlines.
Na ang si Bagyong Elya po naging support typhoon. Kapag hindi magbabago ang direksyon at bilis ng bagyo, inaasap natin ito lalapit o maglandfall sa Babuyan Islands, northeastern mainland Cagayan area pagitan ng late evening today at tomorrow morning.
Today, Typhoon Egay has intensified into a super typhoon, prompting the raising of signal number 4 over the northeastern portion of mainland Cagayan, particularly in Santa Ana.
我们今天的演习总共将近100位的渔民来参加演习，然后这个演习的重要性呢，就是了解一下，如果乌俄战争嘛，现在乌俄都在战争，了解一下，如果发生战事的话，渔民可以知道如何来疏散。
Taiwan held air raid drills on Monday, simulating its response to Chinese missile attacks. The drills were held in several cities across the island, including Taipei, New Taipei City, and Taiwan.
64 orang dan 12 orang meninggal dunia akibat kecelakaan.
A somber mass burial was held for the 15 people who lost their lives when a wooden ferry capsized off the coast of Sulawesi Island in Indonesia. And
half of the world population is at risk of dengue, and
the World Health Organization has warned that the potential spread of dengue could be exacerbated by climate change. A super typhoon is now headed for the northern Philippines, where evacuation orders have been issued for coastal communities. Super Typhoon Doksuri, known as Egay here in the country, was packing maximum sustained winds of 185 kilometers per hour as it headed towards a group of 3 lightly populated islands off the northern tip of the main island of Luzon.
Na ang si Bagyong Elya po naging support typhoon. Kapag hindi magbabago ang direksyon at bilis ng bagyo, inaasa po natin ito lalapit o maglandfall sa Babuyan Islands, northeastern mainland Cagayan area pagitan ng late evening today at tomorrow morning. At inaasahan pa rin natin na kapag ito'y magbago sa kanyang tinatahak mula sa forecast track, mapa northward o southward within sa cone of confidence, maaari mo maglandfall siya o lalapit po sa northern mainland Cagayan o sa Batanes. Estimated pong lalabas ng PAR ang Bagyong Egay pagdating po ng Thursday morning.
The storm is expected to make landfall or pass very close to the Babuyan Islands or northeastern Cagayan province by Wednesday afternoon. It would then sweep across to Taiwan and eastern China. The storm is expected to dump more than 200 millimeters or 7.9 inches of rain on the islands and the northern portion of Cagayan, Apayao, and Ilocos Norte provinces by Tuesday. Now, 3 of the 5 Babuyan Islands are inhabited with a population of around 20,000 people. Local disaster official Charles Castillejo said coastal communities on the islands had been ordered to leave their homes, while fishermen had been told to get their boats out of the water. Now, storm surges of more than 3 meters, that is around 10 feet, could hit some low-lying areas according to Pagasa.
Kita po natin na mamayang gabi ay didikit na po ito doon sa northern tip of Luzon, at alam po naman natin na pag sinabi nating storm surge, ito ay kakibat ng malalakas na hangin. So base po sa ating pagtaya ay generally speaking ay talagang mataas ang panganib nito, and it could be comparable to Umpong noong 2018 in terms of the impact, at posible pang higitan kasi kung malala nyo nasa typhoon category siya pero ito nasa super typhoon category. So sa ngayon po ay talagang iba yung pag-iingat, at kung magkaroon na dapat ng mga preventive evacuation diyan po sa mga lugar na ating babanggitin maya-maya lamang.
Now, today, Taiwan held air drills simulating its response to Chinese missile attacks. The drills were held in several cities across the island, including Taipei, New Taipei City, and Taiwan. The drills were part of Taiwan's annual One-An air defense exercises, which translates to everlasting peace. The exercises are designed to test Taiwan's ability to respond to a Chinese attack. Residents in 7 counties across northern Taiwan were subjected to emergency scenarios as part of the drills. They were instructed to take cover in bomb shelters and to evacuate their homes if necessary.
我们今天的演习总共将近100位的里民来参加演习，然后这个演习的重要性呢，就是了解一下，如果乌俄战争嘛，现在乌俄都在战争，了解一下，如果发生战事的话，里民可以知道如何来疏散。
Taiwan is also currently holding its largest annual military drills, known as Han Kuang or Han Glory. The drills are simulating how Taiwan would fend off an attack from Beijing's army. Fighter jets and transport planes took off Monday from bases across the island, with Taiwan's defense ministry saying that the exercises showcase the formidable capabilities of our Air Force. However, drills scheduled for Tuesday in the southern Taitung airport were cancelled due to the approaching Typhoon Doksuri, which is Egay here in the Philippines. Beijing's cyber harassing against Taiwan has intensified in recent years, with nearly daily incursions by warplanes into the island's air defense zone. The Chinese military has also held 2 massive drills in waters around Taiwan, simulating targeted strikes and a blockade of the island. The drills in Taiwan come as the island faces increasing pressure from China. Beijing hasn't ruled out the use of force to bring Taiwan under its control. Meanwhile, a somber mass burial was held for the 15 people who lost their lives when a wooden ferry capsized off the coast of Sulawesi Island in Indonesia. The ill-fated boat carrying 48 people encountered a disastrous turn of events, leaving 6 others injured and requiring hospital treatment. Now, survivors recounted the harrowing moments leading up to the tragedy as the vessel started to take on water, causing panic among passengers. Despite concerns raised, the captain assured them everything was under control, but the boat abruptly flipped, leading to the heartbreaking loss of lives.
Airnya masuk, tidurnya katanya tidak apa-apa, tidur mama, tinggal tumbang saja begitu karena air supaya satu kapal, tinggal kita jatuh saja, tidak ada angin, tidak ada ombak.
Kayaknya pas acara ulang tahun Bintang Tengah, nah terjadinya kapal karena kelebihan muatan 64 orang dan 15 orang meninggal dunia akibat kecelakaan.
In the aftermath of the accident, discrepancies emerged between the actual number of passengers on board and the official manifest, which is not uncommon in Indonesia. Wayudin, an official from the rescue agency, explained that some passengers had previously been recorded as missing because they managed to rescue themselves and returned home after reaching the shore. As more details came to light, it was clarified that the vessel involved was a wooden passenger boat and not a ferry, as initially reported. In a race against time, tour operators have begun evacuating almost 1,500 holidaymakers from the wildfire-stricken Greek island of Rhodes. The situation remains critical as officials warn of high fire threats in almost every region of the country. Since last Wednesday, fires have been raging on Rhodes, prompting the evacuation of a staggering 19,000 people over the weekend.
We went to the stadium for somewhere to stay, and I couldn't believe the stories I was hearing from the people who've been evacuated from hotels. All their money, passports, clothing. We had to lend a woman some of my wife's clothes because she had nothing to wear. It was terrible.
The inferno has now reached coastal resorts on the island's southeast, including popular tourist destinations. Tourists, mainly from Britain and Germany, found themselves fleeing their hotels and resorts as the wildfires closed in. With no time to spare, they sought refuge at Rhodes Airport, spending the night on the floor, anxiously awaiting repatriation flights.
Walked for about 2 miles in the sun with all our bags and the kids, and then we managed to get a truck that took us to a beach further up. And then once we got there, we saw our Jet2 rep, and she said, I'll take your details and we'll let you know what's going on. She then disappeared. We then had the hotel staff say, wait here, we'll come back in an hour or two. They then disappeared. So we're up there, it's pitch black, you can see the fire in the distance.
The first flights have begun overnight, helping some holidaymakers return home to safety. Not only Rhodes, but the island of Corfu also faced the wrath of a wildfire, leading to additional evacuations from this beloved Greek destination. Civil Protection has issued a grave warning, stating that practically every region of Greece is now under the threat of wildfires. The scale of the threat varies from high to very high, with some areas on a state of alert. The situation has been aggravated by scorching temperatures exceeding 40 degrees Celsius or 104 degrees Fahrenheit over the past week, and forecasters expect these extreme conditions to persist in the coming days. The World Health Organization has warned that the potential spread of dengue could be exacerbated by climate change. The WHO urged countries to take early preventive measures in response to extreme rain and drought conditions.
About half of the world population is at risk of dengue, and dengue affects approximately 129 countries. We estimate that about 100 to 400 million cases are reported every year. This is basically an estimate. And the American region alone, for example, has reported about 2.8 million cases and 1,280 deaths.
The excess rain due to changing weather patterns creates a breeding ground for mosquitoes in stagnant bodies of water. Dr. Velayudan emphasized that countries, especially those in Asia, need to be prepared for a surge in dengue cases following the monsoon season. The region accounts for 70% of the global disease burden. Climate change, with its soaring temperatures and unpredictable weather patterns, allows mosquitoes to thrive even in water-scarce or drought-affected areas.
Also, the high precipitation, increased temperature, and even the mosquito manages to survive even when there is water scarcity. So both during a flood situation as well as a drought situation, dengue can increase. The virus and the vector multiplies faster at a higher temperature. This is a well-known fact.
Erratic water supply leads to water storage, providing ideal conditions for mosquito breeding. Dr. Velayudan also emphasized the critical importance of early detection when the virus first emerges in a population. Initial symptoms may be mild, but a second contraction of the virus, known as severe dengue, can be fatal.
In some cases, especially when you get the infection for the second time, which we call a secondary infection, this can lead to severe dengue, and it can be fatal too. There are very few antiviral research working on, and actually 2 or 3 of these candidates are going through phase 2 trials and will move on to the phase 3, which is very promising. There is also one dengue vaccine in the market which has got certain limitations, and 2 other candidates are actually in the pipeline and are under review.
In a high-level event, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres emphasized the urgency of addressing global food security challenges. More than 780 million people are suffering from hunger, while a significant portion of food produced goes to waste.
Global food systems are broken and billions of people are paying the price. More than 780 million people are going hungry, while nearly 1/3 of all food produced is lost or wasted. More than 3 billion cannot afford healthy diets.
Gutierrez urged the Russian Federation to participate in the Black Sea Initiative to enhance global food security.
The Russian Federation and Ukraine are both essential to global food security. They have historically accounted for roughly 30% of global wheat and barley exports, a fifth of all maize, and more than half of all sunflower oil. For my part, I remain committed to facilitating the unimpeded access to global markets for food products and fertilizers from both Ukraine and the Russian Federation, and to deliver the food security that every person deserves. And I call on the Russian Federation to return to the implementation of the Black Sea Initiative in line with my latest proposal. And I urge the global community to stand united for effective solutions in this essential effort.
Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni officially inaugurated the summit, declaring Rome as the food security capital of the world for 3 days.
For 3 days, Rome will become the food security capital of the world. A choice that pays tribute to Italy's traditional commitment to this crucial issue. Food security has always been, indeed, one of the strategic guidelines of our foreign policy and a priority area of Italian development cooperation. And it has become one of the major challenges of our time in this completely interconnected world.
This solution depends on transforming global agri-food system to be more efficient, more inclusive, more resilient, and more sustainable. In the face of increased uncertainty, multiple crises, we need to urgently undertake this transformation to fulfill high expectations we have from our agri-food systems.
The event comes amid significant global hunger, food waste, and inadequate access to healthy diets, affecting billions of people around the world. And now we have some exciting news for travelers from Singapore and Brunei. China has announced that it'll resume its 15-day visa-free entry for citizens of both countries starting July 26th. This comes after the suspension of visas in 2020 due to strict travel restrictions under China's zero-COVID policy. The policy relaxation in December 2021 didn't immediately reinstate the visa-free entry for Singapore and Brunei citizens. However, this recent development is a welcome change, especially considering the strong economic ties between China and these two nations. Singapore and China are major trading partners, and this visa-free entry policy will facilitate easier travel for business, tourism, and family visits between the countries. It's also expected to boost trade and investment opportunities. It's also worth noting that besides Singapore and Brunei, citizens of several other countries, including the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Maldives, and Fiji, enjoy visa exemptions for China, allowing them to visit for up to 30 days without a visa. In tonight's other news, Elon Musk, the renowned tech billionaire, is making waves once again with a massive rebranding of Twitter. Over the weekend, Elon Musk announced a significant overhaul of Twitter, complete with a new logo and identity. The tech billionaire has long had a connection to the letter X, dating back to 24 years ago when he founded X.com, which later was renamed PayPal despite his objections. His space company is called SpaceX, and the parent company of Twitter was changed to X earlier this year. Now, Musk described the new logo as minimalist Art Deco and updated his Twitter bio to X.com, which now redirects to Twitter.com. The Tesla CEO also tweeted that under the site's new identity, a post would be called an X, challenging the public to stop referring to tweeting or tweet. The new logo was projected onto the facade of Twitter's San Francisco headquarters on Sunday night. Twitter is thought to have around 200 million daily active users, but it has suffered repeated technical failures since Musk sacked much of his staff. Facebook parent Meta this month launched its text-based platform called Threads, which has up to 150 million users, according to some estimates. However, the amount of time users spend on the rival app has plummeted in the weeks since its launch, according to data from market analysis firm Sensor Tower.
Well, given it's Instagram with 1 billion plus users, it's significant. I mean, Zuckerberg going into the deep end of the pool, going after this Twitter base with Threads. Clearly, out of the gates, it's been strong, 50 million signups. But I don't believe it's necessarily a threat, a real threat to Twitter. I think it's all going to be about engagement. A lot of worries about censorship on the platform, Instagram-ish. I think this is a hype trend. I ultimately think 3-4 months from now, there's minimal traction that they'll have with Threads. Despite all the excitement and the anti-Musk, anti-Twitter, which I think is also fueling a lot of this, where a lot of investors have seen it in terms of Twitter. And I think consumers, they don't like be beholden to Musk and Twitter, but it comes down to the addiction of Twitter is not going away, just given the content and the community that they've built over the last decade. But for Twitter and Musk, and for Linda, new CEO, probably caught a bit flat-footed, just in terms of how aggressive Meta's gone after this. They do have scale of the platform. And I do think for the first time, they got to keep one eye open, given that Zuckerberg and the Instagram base and the way they've set it up. You delete Threads, you'll delete your Instagram account now. And I think that's a smart poker move by them, but that's why I think these signups, I think you got to take with a grain of salt. I think a legal challenge is not a shock, that they will also pursue this further, because right now they got to defend their turf. Now, if there's legal bounds here and ultimately what does that hold up in court, probably not likely, unless there's patent issues or some of the trade secrets. But this is something all expected. And I think it's not unexpected from Meta as well. But for Twitter, and where there's a clear beef going on between Musk and Zuckerberg, could end up in a cage match this fall. And ultimately, I think the legal issues that you're seeing here, this battle is going to continue. This is really a Game of Thrones. I think Meta, best case, maybe 3 to 5% share they could gain from Twitter over the next year.
President Marcos Jr. on Monday delivered his second State of the Nation address, where he touted the country's economic recovery and outlined his plans to sustain growth. Citing government data, Marcos said the Philippines achieved a 7.6% growth in 2022, the highest in 46 years.
While the global prospects were bleak, our economy posted a 7.6% growth in 2022, our highest growth rate in 46 years. For the first quarter of this year, our growth has registered at 6.4%. It remains within our target of 6 to 7% for 2023. We are still considered to be amongst the fastest growing economies in the Asian region and in the world. It is a testament to our strong macroeconomic fundamentals.
To foster continued economic growth, Marcos said the government will continue to invest in public infrastructure, food, education, health, jobs, and social protection.
The flagship projects cover investments in the areas of physical connectivity, water resources, agriculture, health, digital connectivity, and energy. Physical connectivity infrastructure, such as roads and bridges, seaports, airports, mass transport, account for 83% of this program. Our infrastructure spending will stay at 5 to 6% of our GDP.
He also vowed to go after agriculture smugglers and hoarders who he said are putting at risk not only farmers but also consumers.
Ang mga smuggler, mga hoarder at mga nagmamanipula ng presyo ng produktong agrikultural, hinahabol at ihaabla natin sila. Sadyang hindi tama ang kanilang gawain at hindi rin ito tugma sa ating magandang layunin. Pandaraya ang kanilang ginagawa. Napapahamak hindi lamang ang mga magsasaka, kundi tayo rin mga mamimili. Kaya hindi natin papayagan ang ganitong kalakaran. Bilang na ang mga araw ng mga smuggler at hoarder na yan.
The president expressed hope that his second SONA will inspire Filipinos to join the government in reaching its goals.
It is up to us to provide good leadership and guidance. They love the Philippines and have responded to our call.
He ended his address with words that closely reflected his SONA conclusion last year.
And thus, with this in my heart, I know that the state of the nation is sound and is improving. Dumating na po ang bagong Pilipinas. Maraming salamat po sa inyo.
About 2,000 people witnessed the SONA at the Batasang Pambansa Complex in Quezon City. And today, President Marcos is also off to Malaysia for an official state visit. Let's listen in.
I believe that this is an opportune time to harness the potentials of a revitalized relationship between the Philippines and Malaysia. The Philippines and Malaysia have long enjoyed close economic ties, supported by strong bilateral ties stretching back for decades. In order to assist our nation's trajectory of economic growth and to meet our economic target of 6.4% year-on-year GDP growth this year, my visit will focus on the renewed partnerships in the fields of agriculture and food security, digital economy, tourism, people-to-people exchanges, as well as explore new avenues for cooperation. Given the multitude of sectors for economic cooperation in Malaysia, I will be meeting with Malaysian business leaders as well to showcase trade and investment opportunities. And this brings me to my next point. Malaysia is a host to a thriving Filipino diaspora, many of whom left their families to find work and live in Malaysia. I will be meeting our hardworking kababayans in Malaysia to personally show the nation's care and protection and reassure them that the government is continuously working to ensure their safety and well-being. It is also my belief that through the investments we bring in from my various foreign visits, soon our kababayans will no longer be forced to work abroad, but will have a choice to come home and find suitable work in the Philippines so that they may be reunited with their families.
As my usual habit, I'd like to end the day on a positive note. Let's encourage and build each other up so that no one is left behind. And that's it for tonight's broadcast. I'm Alma Angeles. Stay in the news because we live in extraordinary times. Good night.